You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. You give life, you are love, you bring light to the darkness, you give hope, you restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Sing all the earth. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. Sing that one more time. All the earth will shout your praise. Our hearts will cry. These bones will sing. Great are you, Lord. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise, pour out our praise. It's your breath in our lungs, so we pour out our praise to you only. Great are you, Lord. Great are you, Lord. God, we thank you for this day, that we can come together and we can sing about how great you are. God, I pray as we continue to worship you this morning, as we open your word, that it would allow you to fix what's going on in our lives. That we would allow you to intrude every part of who we are as believers and let you do your amazing work on us. God, I pray that we would focus on you. God, we thank you for this day. In your name, amen.
I invite you to open your Bibles to Proverbs chapter 23. A couple of weeks ago, we started a series on the value of money, and we took a break from it last week. We had our youth service, our youth appreciation service. I got to tell you, I was blessed, and I thought it was a great service. I'm proud of our young people in a good way. It's not that they're perfect, but to be willing to be used of God, and that's important. I was excited because a good number of them went to college days at Baptist Bible College in Springfield, Missouri this week, and spent some time there, and they all made it back, so that was good news. Because Philip was driving most of the time. But they did, and even in that, and just talking to them briefly this morning, there was an excitement about it. It wasn't just a fun trip, that it was even more than that, an opportunity to grow. So it is exciting, and last week was important to have that time where we could hear from our young people, and so I'm thankful for that. But we want to continue this series now on the value of money, and I know it's like, well, it almost seems odd that we should be doing this, and it's like, wait a minute, there's we're coming up on Easter, this is Palm Sunday. I really didn't come today, you may be thinking in your mind, I didn't come today to hear a sermon about money. Because money is the topic we don't like to hear about. We want to hear about the positive things. But Jesus had a lot to say about money, and if you recall 2 weeks ago, the reality is what we see in Scripture is we can't separate where we're at spiritually. We can't separate our finances from our faith. Our faith, as we grow in our faith, is going to impact our view of finances. It's going to impact how we value money. And so this morning, we're going to look at money's limits. I think it's important to have a proper perspective of the value of money. We got to understand that money does have its limits. And we talked about, I told you about the couple that sold everything they had, a couple from Colorado, sold everything that they had to buy a sailboat because they got tired of using all their money to pay for car and house and all that kind of stuff. So they weren't going to work anymore. In my mind, every time I read the story, I still come back to, how are you going to eat? Because I value food. So that's just one of those things where I go to, but 2 days after they did this, and they set sail, the boat capsized. They lost everything. And so what they did is these people who said that money is not everything, and they were kind of tired of being bound by money, set up a GoFundMe page, and were begging people to give them money. And it seemed like such a contradiction. And the reality is, sometimes we can say the right things about money, but there's circumstances in life that really reveal whether we just know the right answers or if we truly have put money in its proper place. Yeah, money isn't everything, but it still plays an important role in our lives, doesn't it? And that's okay that it does. We just need to make sure we have placed the right value on it. Money, it can't build character, but it'll reveal our character when you give somebody money. Money can't buy friends, but if you have money, you'll have more people hanging around. There's just a lot of contradictions in the things with money. It doesn't impact our lives. It absolutely changes the equation of your life. The more money you have, it's going to change the equation of your life. It's going to impact how you live and the things that are done. But most of those changes, as a matter of fact, all the changes that money can make in your life. And sometimes we really think that money is the answer to the changes that we need in life. But the reality is, every change that can be accomplished by money in your life is temporary. Won't last. Now, you may disagree with that, but we're going to, I think we give money too much credit for being the answer to our problems in life. In Proverbs 23, we're going to see what God tells us about money, a very, very, very important principle concerning money. Verse 4 and 5, it says, "Do not toil to acquire wealth. Be discerning enough to desist. When your eyes light on it, it's gone. For suddenly it sprouts wings, flying like an eagle toward heaven." God here is warning us that we need to recognize the limitations of our money. Don't make life all about money. And we focus on the money. I like talking with Amanda this morning, and she had opportunities. I don't mean to embarrass you, but it's exciting to hear that God's been working in her life, and she's been accepted into 3 schools, good schools, for her pharmacy, doctorate in pharmacy, after completing her undergrad. And it was interesting because one of them was a very prestigious school. A couple, they're all good schools. But somebody, and I may completely mess this up, but somebody, the most prestigious school is also the one that wants the most money. And someone said, but after 4 years you'll have your doctorate in pharmacy, and if you can get it for less money, you still have a doctorate in pharmacy. And it's still from a really, really good school. And that helped her make her decision. In other words, so money doesn't really buy everything, but it's still going to cost a lot of money. So you have that equation in life where we look at money, and we need to make sure that it's not all about money. We need to be discerning enough to desist, or discerning enough to stop making major life decisions where they all boil down to money. Otherwise, if all your decisions in life boil down to money, what does that tell us about what truly controls our life? Yeah, money's a part of the equation. We've already said that. But if it is the deciding factor, then what really is in control of our life? Are you willing to forsake family, friends? How about God? Are you willing to forsake God over money? We do sometimes. That's the reason Jesus, he told me, you're robbing from me. How have we robbed from you? In tithes and offerings. You chose, sometimes we choose money. What he was telling these people, you're choosing money over me. This lesson isn't about giving, but it is about us recognizing how money might have control. We need to recognize ourselves. So if it is money that is controlling us, if it's money that drives all of our decisions, God says, stop. You need to desist. He said, this is foolish to think that way. And then he gives us the reason why it's foolish to think that way. Because money will always vanish. It's not that wealth might be lost. It will always be lost. Either it leaves us or we leave it. Either the money leaves us or we leave it. So the statement that you can't take it with you, that is so true. Earth's currency has zero value in heaven. You're not going to be able to use your money that you have in this life to buy any influence in heaven. Because in heaven we will all equally and humbly worship the only one who has any influence. You can't, in heaven, you won't be able to spend your way out of your problems. And this is good news. You know why you can't spend your way out of your problems in heaven? There are no problems. There are no problems in heaven. You're not going to be able to buy a bigger mansion because all rewards will be given based on the love that you have shown in this life. The love you've shown for God, the love you've shown for others. You're not going to get rewarded for how much money you have made, that you have obtained. But yet, too often, we put a value on money that we think somehow it is the value that we put on it. Wow, it must carry over somehow because we're placing so much value on it. On the things that we see in Scripture that do carry over and how we can feel for eternal things. Yet, we place the value on something that has no value in the long run, in eternity. And that's what God wants us to see here, that, man, it's gone. It's flying like an eagle toward heaven, but it's not going to be there in heaven waiting for you. Your money will either leave you or you will leave your money. It's the reason Jesus called the rich man who worked hard, made his whole life about making money, in order to one day sit back, relax, and enjoy all the fruits of his labor. What were the fruits of his labor? The money that he made. Jesus said, you're a fool, because this life is temporary. It's a waste of your life pursuing temporary things. And the temptation to pursue money is strong. Because Satan deceives us, and we see how it can be used or misused. And that has an appeal to us. It just has, it has this, when we see that, there are certain things that just have this appeal to us that make us say, man, if I only had the money. If I only had the money. The question is always asked every time the lottery gets up to a certain level. Everybody, ooh, what would you do if you won the lottery? And it's amazing. Everybody has an answer really quick. It tends to make me believe that it's something that we think about. Wow. Only if. How much control does it really have in our life? If we're looking at it as though our life would be of more value, only if. Our life would be more complete, only if I had more money. Yeah, Satan wants us to believe that it is the answer to all of life's problems. But money has its limits. It's necessary. We use money. And there's nothing evil about money. We're never warned to avoid money. We're warned about the value we place on money. I want to look at some of the limits and some of the things we'll see. Oh, money does do something. And we use it for certain ways. And we have this idea in our mind that Satan wants us to believe that this is the answer. One of the first areas I think of is the area of confidence. Because if I had more money, man, I could gain some confidence. I would be a more confident person if I had more money. It will impact me on a social level. And the studies say that tends to be true. That people walk with a different kind of swagger when they have money in their pockets. And it gives them a certain level of confidence. But it's important to note that the confidence gained from money is limited to the flesh. Paul talked about the confidence of the flesh in Philippians chapter 3. He talked about this great confidence that he had achieved in his life. It was the prestige and the sense of accomplishment he had for the pursuits of his life. And in so doing, he was moving up the ranks when he was still known as Saul, before he became Paul. And as a result, he was making more money. He was doing things that were going to equate to gain, financial gain, more than other people in that area, because he was moving up that way. And that gave him a feeling of confidence. And this feeling, and many people have it, they feel like their life matters more, it's more important, and people look at that and see that this accomplishment feeds our sense of pride and gives us a fleshly confidence. It's not just that you feel like your life matters, but the reality is others look at what you've accomplished and they'll say, wow, you must be doing well. And how does that make you feel when someone says, you must be doing well? Okay. I'm going to guess that for most of us, we like that. I like that. You know, I like for people to tell me that I'm doing good. They think I'm doing good. But not necessarily based upon my financial status. But we look at that. We see that. When we see somebody with a big house, and the thought is, oh, well, they must have accomplished some stuff. We see somebody with a nice car. Oh, they must really have accomplished something. And we want that feeling. We want people to look at us and think that, hey, there's a certain confidence. That person must have achieved something in life. You know, the average person walking down the street can't determine the value of your life. They have no clue the value of your life. So we want money. We need that money. The confidence that we gain from money is so that we can get the status symbols that show people that our life matters. That gives us confidence. I remember a few months ago, I like to watch the History Channel, and there was the history of cars was on there. And so I was enjoying watching that. And it was interesting because they started out with Ford, and with the Ford, it was every man's car. The Model T, that was the whole deal with the Model T. We want to build a car so everybody in America can have a car. And then eventually GM came along. And what they were doing is they were kind of all these different car companies that were out there. They were buying the different car companies that were out there, bringing them all under one umbrella. And they decided in their marketing plan, they did something that was really unique in their marketing plan. Instead of saying, we got a car for everybody, well, we do have cars for everybody, but we have some cars that are for some people and some cars that are not for just everybody. And it talked about how the Chevy, that was the answer to Ford. It was the everyman car, if you had a Chevy. But the Buick, back in the day, it was like, oh no, you've accomplished some things if you were driving a Buick back in the day. Now, when I say back in the day, yeah, there's a few back there. But not a lot. There's not a lot. But it was a yeah, you had accomplished more than every man. And then there was the Cadillac. And this is what they said. It was one of the first and most popular leisure cars. And what it communicated, if you were driving a Cadillac, was you had arrived. That's what they said. You had arrived if you were driving a Cadillac. Yep, seen what I'm driving, didn't you? Of course, things change. And I can tell you, the reason I'm driving a Cadillac is because I have not arrived. Because if I'd arrived, I'd be driving a truck. That's how things have changed. And the Cadillac was a whole lot cheaper than the truck. So, people who drive trucks, they're really the people who've arrived. So in a way, that kind of makes Vernon more important than me.
You even got Texas plates.
What's it having?
But there's that sense, even though things have changed and the status symbols have changed, but there is a sense that, people recognize with money, I can gain confidence. I can gain that where people will look at me with a certain level of respect. Here's what Paul would go on to say after he talked about the confidence of the flesh in Philippians chapter 3. He says, whatever gain I had, I counted as loss for the sake of Christ. Indeed, I count everything as loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. For his sake, I've suffered the loss of all things and count them as rubbish in order that I may gain Christ. You know what he's saying? He had learned that all the things that he pursued in life and all the things that he felt like made him important, everything that he had gained, he really found did not contain the value within it that he thought it would. But he found his value in knowing Christ. Money cannot give you that kind of value. He was amazed that Jesus Christ would want to know him. You know what makes you valuable? Jesus Christ died for you. He didn't look down and say, you know what? This guy, this lady, this group of people, they're not going to have near enough money. I'm not dying for them. There is no way I'm giving my life for that class of people. Because your money doesn't make you valuable to God. He's the one who created everything. He doesn't need our money. He values you. And we begin to understand that, wait a minute, whatever confidence you can gain, and the reality is, there is a temporary confidence that money might give you. There's hard lessons to be learned when you gain your confidence from money. It will not sustain you. That's the confidence that is limited by the flesh. And at some point, your money leaves you, or you leave your money. And either way, you will find that money let you down. And it did not accomplish what you thought it was going to accomplish. What's the greater value? What people think of you, or what God thinks of you? The greater value, that's an easy question to answer. The greater value is God. And that he thinks and believes that I'm worth dying for. And he gave his son to die for me. So it's limited in the confidence that it can give. there's another area that we look to for money, and we use money, and that's an area of problems in our life. We have problems, and money's the answer. Here's the principle. The problems in life that are solved with money do not produce wisdom. Having money is not going to, it can be used to solve problems. But if you don't gain wisdom in it, then you haven't really solved anything. It really hasn't accomplished the things that you think it's going to accomplish. And there's this idea out there that every problem can be fixed with money, and we see it all the time. I got to tell you, this isn't a political statement, but there is something wrong with all of our politicians that think the answer to everything is throw money at it. And that is the answer to everything. Because money doesn't solve problems, but it does buy votes. And that's what they look to do. And in the process, the problems go on. And the same is true in our life. And we can be guilty even on this personal level. Because, here's the thing. Here's the problem. Johnny's got crooked teeth. Oh, what do I do? I gotta go to the dentist. That costs money. He might need braces. That costs money. And we start looking at the problem, that the solution to the problem is money. If I say something unwise about Carol, which I know that would never happen. I have the forest on speed dial. Oh yeah, I've done something to offend. I better get some flowers. I'll make it up to her. So I'm trying to fix the relationship. How? Money. I'm hungry. And the answer for being hungry, well, it's food. But I need money to buy food. So I need money. So I'm going to fix my health problems. I'm going to fix my relationship problems. I'm going to fix my basic needs in life problem, all with money. You know the song, Jesus is the answer? I think for some people that song is, money is the answer. Money is the answer for the world today. But if there's no other, money wins the day. Let's stand and sing together. Money is a resource that we use in life. And it's okay to have money when we use it correctly and place the proper value on it. And it can be used to correct certain problems. It can be used to improve certain life situations, but it is never the answer. It is never the answer to all of life's problems. God tells us in Proverbs 17, why should a fool have money in his hand to buy wisdom when he has no sense? God is pretty direct sometimes. In case you're trying to figure out what this means, you can have all the money in the world and still be an idiot. It doesn't make you wise. It doesn't give you understanding. It doesn't give you discernment. It might get you out of the immediate problem, but it can't provide the wisdom needed to keep from entering back into that problem or enter into other problems. If you accumulate huge debt from unwise from the unwise use of credit and mismanagement of your financial resources, how do you feel? Lousy, if you're smart. You feel like you're stressed, you're drowning. It bothers you deeply. So what is the answer if you have huge debt? What's the answer if you've misused the resources that God has provided to you, and now you find yourself on the verge of losing everything? You could file bankruptcy. However, wait a minute. I think God's against that. The lottery. That's the answer. It's not that I need my debt to go away. The problem is I need more money. And a few $100 million ought to do it. That'll get me by for a little while. However, if you haven't gained any wisdom, it won't get you by for very long. You'll just misuse it. No matter how many hundreds of millions you might win. Because money isn't the solution. Wisdom is the solution. That's the reason I like, our FPU class that finished up this past week. The principles behind it is, listen, we won't have a show of hands here, but I think I can safely say that the vast majority of the people here have at some point in their life had to learn some hard lessons about money and the use of it and the misuse of it, and how the misuse of it can cause a lot of problems in life. And FPU is about gaining wisdom to get out of those problems and to keep from getting back into those problems. That's what that FPU it wasn't one of those things. Hey, I always like those advertisements on TV. There's always somebody on there. If you will send me $100, I'll tell you how to get rich overnight. I know how they get rich overnight. They come up with a snazzy commercial and put it on TV, and then a bunch of people with debt problems say, oh man, I need more money. I'm going to send this money to this guy. And that way I'll have more money. No, he will have more money. You won't have more money. You'll have less money. We need to understand it is limited in solving our problems. What we need is wisdom. If I use money to buy happiness in relationships, that makes for really bad relationships. It doesn't make for a loving relationship. And a loving relationship is a whole lot better than a happy relationship. Because in a loving relationship, when things go bad, you can overcome that. If your goal is happiness in a relationship, let me tell you, there's going to be things in your life that are going to put a strain on any relationship. Whether it's husband and wife, whether it's friends, whether it's co-workers, whether it's other family members. There's just stuff in life that comes along. You try to buy your way out of all those problems, at some point it doesn't work. That adds to the stress on the relationship. But love, true love, doesn't make your problems go away, but you learn to deal with those problems. Why? Because you love that person. I'm not going to easily cast this relationship away. Why? Because I love them. Not because they have money, but because I love them. Love isn't measured in the gifts that I can give, but in how much I give of myself. And that's what builds a relationship. And let me ask you, do our basic needs change because we have more money? No, we may spend more money, on our basic needs. But our basic needs don't change. I've shared this story before, but it was so profound to me at that moment. You know, first time Pilot came to the United States. And coming from Cambodia, everything was completely different. And it was interesting because the question that he got asked, I don't know how, I'm sure we asked it, and he was being asked this everywhere he went, being asked by all kinds of people, and well-meaning, what do you like to eat? And it's like, you know, the first few times you hear it, you don't want to know what he likes to eat. You know, been to Cambodia, and there is something wrong with some of the stuff they like to eat. And we were talking about it as he stayed with us, and Carolyn was always trying to, you know, she wanted to make sure she was trying to be a good host, good hostess, and you know, so she was always concerned about, well, you know, what is it you want to eat? And he said, I food. Here's what he wanted to do: eat. He said in Cambodia, he says, we're really not concerned about what something tastes like. And for all those who've been there, we know that that's true. It's just about having that basic need met. Our basic needs are still the same. But we get things out of where we think, oh, I can't just have any kind of steak. I gotta have grass-fed from Japan. You know how much you pay? And I don't know. Unless you've locked that cow away, my thought is every cow I've seen is eating some level of grass. There may be some other stuff in there, and I'm not quite as concerned about it as others, I guess. Once it's on my plate and it's been cooked long enough, I don't care what it is. I care what I ate. You know, it is wow. How our values change. And it's interesting because we see things differently and what we see as necessary. We were talking about, and I can't remember, this was just, it might have been with your mother or somebody, the pizza. For every time we go, you know, the kids at the orphanage get excited because if Pastor Scott's coming, they get pizza. That's the only time they get pizza. And then I got to tell you, they do something that has made no sense to me whatsoever. First of all, they're getting seafood pizza. And it is, I know some of you are thinking, oh, that's just nasty. Oh, let me tell you, it's so much worse than what you think. But then, they take, because at the pizza place, they have bottles of ketchup at every table. And those kids take that ketchup and they just pour it all over their pizza. There'll be more ketchup than there will be seafood. There'll be more ketchup than anything else. They're like, you know, have you ever had some of your kids, I think it was Bryce, they used to put butter on bread and then lick all the butter off. It was Sarah. I knew one of our kids was weird. I didn't know. And just licking that ketchup off. Oh yeah! And it's like, you know what? Got to think about this. Ketchup, because there's no ketchup at the orphanage. Ketchup is a treat. It's the kind of thing that you don't get. It's not just a pizza. It's the ketchup. That's the truth. Because they understand that their basic needs are met just with the noodles and the rice. Some chicken from time to time. It's not that we need more money to meet our basic needs. We just have placed the wrong value on money, and that has increased what we see as our basic needs. Money's not the answer. It's a resource. And as a resource, we can use it to help with the problems that we face in life. But it is not the answer to solving the problems in life. What we need is wisdom. And without wisdom, no matter how much money we have, no matter how much money we get or gain, we will be destined to repeat our problems. And then lastly, something that we get from money, but it has its limits. And that's that feeling of satisfaction. And the satisfaction derived from money will never fulfill you. It does have a certain intrinsic value that makes you feel good. You know, if you're walking along, how much money does it take if you find money as you walk along? How much money is it that it has to be? What's the value of the money before you have to? Oh man, I'm picking that up. Any? Yeah. I got to tell you, I won't bend over for a penny, but I will look and see how does that penny look? Yeah. But the reality is, it gives us that sense of, hey, you find money, almost any amount, and I think for most of us, it's probably not a huge amount. You probably, if you see a stack of $100 bills, your excitement may be a little higher, but you're still, you see, hey, money. And whether it's a dime, whether it's $1, maybe for you it's got to be $20. Well, that's because you got more money than you need. There's just something about money that does have that intrinsic value that makes you feel good. I remember my first job was working for my dad. He had a pest control company. And I was working for him. He was real excited about giving me my first paycheck. And here you go, son. He says, how's that make you feel? I looked at him, that's nice. He said, you're not excited about, that's your first paycheck. It's like, and in my mind I'm thinking, okay, I know he's looking for something from me right here, but I just had my birthday and I got a lot of money that I didn't have to work for. And so, this money is nice, I like it, but man, my dad worked hard. And as a result, he made me work hard. He didn't pay me like I worked hard. Grandma paid me, and I didn't have to do any work. But there is a certain value that we can gain, that we feel that we get. It does. The thing that it did for me is, as I looked at it, is, yeah, you know what? Now I've got more money to go do the things that I want to do. And that part was important to me. We're given this warning in Ecclesiastes chapter 5. He says, he who loves money will not be satisfied with money. He who loves money is never going to be satisfied with money, nor he who loves wealth with his income. This also is vanity. In other words, God said, this is a waste of your time. It is a waste of your time to fixate on money. Even though there is a certain satisfaction that we derive from having money, it'll never be enough to truly satisfy no matter how much money you acquire. Solomon is the one, and he's the one who wrote Ecclesiastes, and he was the one who could speak to this at a better level. He was more qualified to speak to this area, being, in that time, the richest man who had ever lived. And you know what he discovered? All that money didn't satisfy. He knew that if you're looking for money to bring satisfaction in your life, to complete your life in some way, that you would always need more to be satisfied. If you feel like money is what is missing in your life, the reality is, if you get money, it'll never be enough. You will always feel like you need more. So in a way, money really becomes like an addiction. How many of you are addicted to money? The reality is, I think a lot of people. But just like most addicts, it's hard to admit. It's hard to admit that we have that weakness in our life that is consumed by placing a wrong value on something. And just like other addictions, the more you get of it, the less it satisfies. And so you find yourself in this trap that you need more. And the more you get and the more you have, the less satisfied you become. But yet you can't stop. Ultimately, any addiction leaves you completely unsatisfied. The reason we looked at a couple of weeks ago, what Jesus said, what does it profit man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Money's not the answer. The problem isn't that you don't have enough money. I know this is a room full of rich people. But I promise you, there is no one in this room today whose problem is they don't have enough money. Because money isn't sufficient. God's grace is. God's grace will meet our need. You want a life that's fulfilled? And we look to Hebrews 13:5. We look to the second part often and apply it to a lot of areas. But we fail to look at what God said in the first half of that verse. Here's what he says. Keep your life free from the love of money. Be content with what you have. For he said, I will never leave you or forsake you. Now that's a truth that applies to a lot of areas of our life, and we are quick to hold to that in a lot of areas of our life. When we're going through the storms in life, there is this confidence that we gain from knowing that God's presence is with us. There's this ability that we gain from knowing that God's presence is with us. There's this joy that we gain from knowing that God's presence is with us. But God tells us that the love of money keeps us from recognizing that God's presence is with us because we tend to rely and feel like what really is going to complete us is more money. No. It's God's presence. What we need is more of God. More of His presence. More of His love. That's what will truly satisfy. Now, He didn't say, keep your life free from money. No. Money's just a part of life. He says, keep your life free from the love of money. recognize the limitations that money has. Because where money is limited, God is unlimited. He's unlimited in His grace. And His grace, He has promised, is always sufficient. You may need to gain wisdom in knowing how to deal with money, but you don't need more money. You need more of God. You need more of His grace. You need more of His wisdom. And that will satisfy you. I'm going to ask you to stand with your head bowed and your eyes closed. We're going to bring our service to a close.